The surgeon's footsteps faded, leaving a silence in his wake that was heavier than the cannon fire. Alistair struggled to prop himself up on an elbow, his gaze fixed on Nora. "You took a risk for me," he whispered, his voice still raspy. "He could have you marched him." Nora busied herself with a tray of clean bandages, her back to him, unable to meet his intense gaze. "He is a man of medicine, not of vengeance," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "And you are my patient, that is all." Later, when the groans of the other men had subsided into a fitful sleep, she returned with a small bowl of watery broth. She held it to his lips, her hand steady despite the tremor she felt inside. "You need your strength," she murmured. He drank slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "What is your name?" he asked between sips. "Eleonora," she replied, then hesitated. "But my friends call me Nora." A small, weary smile touched his lips. "Nora," he repeated, as if tasting the name. "It is a light in this darkness." The days bled into a week. Nora tended to his wound, which healed slowly, stubbornly. In the stolen moments of quiet, they spoke, not of battles or politics, but of books and poetry, of the crisp autumns in Boston and the humid jasmine-scented evenings of his home in Savannah. She learned he was a scholar at heart, a man who preferred Keats to cannons. He learned she was a dreamer, a woman who believed in a world where justice was not a matter of geography. One evening, as she changed his dressing, she finally found the courage to ask. "Your letter," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "the one to your sister. You wrote that you could no longer reconcile the cause with your conscience." His stormy eyes clouded over, a shadow of deep pain passing through them. He was silent for a long moment, the only sound, the distant rumble of artillery. "I enlisted to defend my home, my state," he finally said, his voice low and heavy with regret. "I was told it was about honor, about our way of life, but the longer I fight, the more I see the poison at its root. We are fighting to keep men in chains, Nora, and no amount of honor can wash that stain clean." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Nora's heart ached with a sudden, sharp empathy. She had seen the enemy as a faceless monolith, a legion of monsters, but this man, this soldier, was grappling with the same moral questions that fueled her own fire. "I believe in the Union," she said softly, "and in the freedom of all men. But I have seen what this war does to us. It turns brothers into butchers. I hate the cause, Alistair, but I am beginning to understand that I do not hate the men." Tentatively, his hand moved across the rough blanket, his fingers finding hers. His touch was warm, a silent acknowledgement of the bridge they had just built across the chasm that divided their worlds. It was not the touch of a Confederate or a Unionist, but of two souls finding a moment of peace in the heart of a storm. They said nothing, letting the quiet understanding speak for them. "Nurse Maeve," the surgeon's voice shattered the moment. He stood at the foot of the cot, his arms crossed, his face a thundercloud. His eyes flickered from their joined hands to Nora's face, his expression hardening with suspicion. "It seems our rebel prisoner is receiving some special attention." Nora snatched her hand back as if burned, her face flushing with a mixture of guilt and fear. "Doctor, his fever was spiking," Nora said quickly, her mind racing for a plausible lie. "I was checking for a pulse in his extremities." The surgeon let out a skeptical grunt. "His fever seems to have broken. He's well enough to walk." He fixed Nora with a cold, hard stare. "He'll be moved to the prisoner's stockade at dawn. Do not let me find you here again, nurse. Am I understood?" The surgeon turned and left without another word. The finality of his decree hung in the air, a death sentence for the fragile connection they had forged. "Dawn," the word echoed in the silence. Alistair's eyes met hers, and in them she saw not the defiance of a captain, but the desperation of a man about to be swallowed by the darkness once more. The war had found them, and their time had just run out.